Hello everybody, my name is Iban Ethos, and welcome back to In a Nutshell, here with Nyx. Now, we're going to look quickly at Nyx. It's going to be a pretty simple thing. So as you can see, Nyx has a kind of a lower end armor, though this is the Nyx Prime. She has 50 armor, 225 energy, 300 health, and 375 shield with a 1.13 sprint speed. A little faster with her sprint speed, a little higher energy pool, a little higher shield pool, but a little lower armor pool. This is her basic loadout, except for, of course, Exiles is usually locked, of course, for Nyx Prime. Now, Nyx, as many people know, is going to be coming out with a rework to her during Fortuna or sometime around then. So she has no mods on her. We're just going to kind of look at her abilities from a baseline standpoint, as all of our In a Nutshells go. So we got here is her first ability is Mind Control. Now, Mind Control has a range of 60 meters and a duration of 30 seconds at base. So, bloop. He is now mine. Interesting factor about this is a lot of people have a speculation that Nyx's ability to mind control is very heavily related to the neural sentry in the Orokin Towers, able to mind control and corrupt all kinds of things. As you can see, the little repeating symbols of, fight for Tenno basically is what it says there. Now, sad fact is you can't kill this enemy, this ally, of course, which is, people are like, oh, it's fine, he's fighting for me, and that's true. But one of the things that you will learn about this particular fact, if you have mind controlled an enemy, and you're in a defense mission, you're in a defense mission, and you need to kill every enemy in a wave, this mind controlled enemy still counts as an enemy and will therefore not let you progress to the next wave until you deactivate it by pressing it again. You can always deactivate your mind control by reactivating your first ability. Our second ability is Psychic Bolts. Now, a lot of people hate this ability so much, absolutely so much. Now, one of the nice things about Psychic Bolts is it is an auto-pathing, which is great. It deals 200 damage per bolt. There's 6 bolts being fired. And because of Nyx's passive, which is enemies affected by her abilities may suddenly disarm, it's kind of useful. It's not the best, but it's kind of useful, as you can see. There you go. See, look, two of these at least now have no primary weapon. They're simply using their secondaries. And as you can see, this does do quite a bit of damage, and it is radiation, so these enemies will fight their allies. Now, her third ability here is Chaos. Powerful Psychic Blast. Nyx causes mass hysteria on the field by confusing all enemies to attack random faction. Its radius is 25 meters. Its duration is 25 seconds. So, boom. The effect, of course, is you seeing that Nyx is right in front of them as if they are Nyx, which makes them get very, very confused. So we're just going to go ahead and... Oh, that's not good. I think they're almost all dead. Just trying to kill them to get them out of the way here, because otherwise they kind of mess up my spawning. Okay. We're going to go head back here, and we will recharge our energy, and we'll reactivate the enemies to be non-paused. So we'll jump in here, we'll look at that, and we'll use our fourth ability. Now, Nyx's fourth ability is called Absorb. Now, Absorb has a little marker up here by her health that has that generates a number based on the amount of damage she's receiving. And then, of course, drains energy per second. So, Absorb absorbs 200 up to 200 damage per second. It drains 4 energy per second, and its explosion range is 10 meters. So, as you can see, it's too small to really affect those enemies, which is unfortunate. But it does give Nyx a moment of respite where she is technically invulnerable. I can also do that. And as you can see now, these enemies are attacking each other. And I don't have to worry about a darn thing. Wait, what was that? What just happened there? I'm so confused. Like, he went flying, and I didn't do an impact proc, I didn't think. That was weird. As you can see, Nyx is pretty darn squishy. She needs a lot of shields and or a lot of health, but she doesn't get a lot of it. There he is. Reload. No, he's here. Almost dead. There it is. For anyone interested in how the Quanta can make those little cubes of doom, it's middle mouse button. Well, yeah. As you can see, Nyx by herself doesn't do all too well. Now, in a level 30, she can tolerate. But it's really hard to move past level 30 enemies. So the next question would be, how do you modify Nyx to make her more powerful, more dangerous? Sadly, Nyx's real power comes from an augment called Assimilate. So I will show you a basic Nyx build for the starting or entrepreneurial Nyxes. So as you can see, her dash polarity gives her, corrosive projection, just hands down, because it's going to increase the power of her weapons against everybody. In the Materai, you want to have your Intensify, and you may even want to throw in Continuity onto this frame as well, because that extra duration might actually be useful. On top of that, in your Vazarin, you want to throw on Vigor if you have Vigor, otherwise Vitality and Redirection. As always, your two basics. In your Dash Polarity or Naramon, you should be putting on Flow if you have it, and then also throwing on some of the lesser known ones, like, well, not lesser known. You'd be throwing on the basic ones that I mentioned before, so Streamline, Augur Reach, Augur Message if you have them. A really basic, kind of nicely balanced build. Now this gives her the ability to only drain 1.82 energy per second, which makes things a lot easier. Her explosion rate is a little bigger, her chaos is a little bigger, her damage from Psychic Bolt, everything just gets a little bit of a buff, a little bit of a reduction to its costs. So why does that make things better? Well, I'll show you. So the Quanta Vandal, I'm going to re-equip its ridiculous broken snip. Anyways, so we're going to redo this here, and we'll Chaos, and we'll do this. As you can see, being able to absorb that damage in this particular fashion is very, very useful. And then this has a small bit of punch through, I just remember that. Because obviously you shouldn't be fighting enemies with unranked or, unmodified weapons. It's kind of a bad idea. So there we just killed all of them. It was a fairly easy bout, but really, as you can see, Nyx's abilities are more for confusion, misdirection, but not really for pure damage. Her pure damage only comes from a little bit from Psychic Bolts, and then of course her fourth ability. Now, if you have the augment for Assimilate, it becomes your best friend. Now, Nyx has 3, maybe even 4 augments. I can't remember exactly if her Psychic Bolts has one. I think it does. So I'll show that later. But for now, we're going to show you Mind Freak. So Mind Freak makes scary things happen. And then on top of that, we can also do Chaos Sphere. So right here we have... Ooh, was that the wrong thing to throw there? It was the wrong thing to throw there. I can just... Well, it doesn't really matter. Okay. So Chaos Sphere is... It makes your chaos, enemies entering the effect range will be affected by chaos, but the effect range lasts for 50% of the ability duration and shrinks over time. So we'll showcase that first here. So we'll go ahead and we will loop. As you can see now, this stays and slowly decays over time. Now the other one we can show is Mind Control. The Mind Control augment, of course, gives them 500% increased damage. As you can see, this one little soldier becomes a super soldier that's basically able to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So when it comes to Nyx, her augments are really what makes her a strong contender as a frame rather than her straight up abilities. On top of that, she has one other one, which is very, very useful for most people. They run this one. Assimilate. Assimilate states that Nyx can move at 50% speed while using Absorb, but the area is reduced by half. So this is what this looks like. So as you can see, actually kind of cool, right? You have basically a portable defensive barrier. And while it's active, Nyx and her Sentinel or companion who's in the range is completely invulnerable to damage. Fun fact about Absorb's normal state is if allies are within range of your Absorb, they take no damage. Also, fun fact, I can shoot and kill people and pick up energy orbs while walking. Granted, I do walk incredibly slow. So this is not like... This is made for solo players who want to play very, very, very safe. And it's perfectly fine. That is a perfectly valid way to play. The only real issue is that you cannot slide, you cannot roll, you cannot do some old glitches and cheats that we used to be able to do, so kind of a sad fact. But it still makes Nyx an incredibly powerful tank. Now, the one sad point, and also kind of a funny point, is if she walks into a nullifier while her Assimilate is active, she will explode. And it will deal damage to that nullifier directly because she'll be inside of its bubble. Same thing happens to her if she's not using Assimilate and she's just using her Absorb naturally. Like with Frost's, globe, if it gets touched by a nullifier, it gets nullified. When she's using her Absorb, if she gets touched by a nullifier, it explodes, but it might also kill the nullifier. But it also could kill her because her armor is so low, it might be her only survivable maneuver. So that's Nyx in a nutshell. Her basic build here. Again, if you can get the mods, definitely get the mods for either Assimilate or Chaos Sphere. Mind Freak is, again, for people who build her for high durations, who want an extra person in their matches with them, but otherwise is not super required. And these might change, however, as her rework comes out. We will have to see. Now we'll go ahead and jump out of the Simulacrum here, and we will show you her last augment, which is for Psychic Bolts, and we'll also show you how to pick her up. All right. So right over here, it'll be in, I believe it's Cephalon Suda again. I could be wrong.
Do you see anything interesting?
No, but there's not. Okay. It must be in Arbiters then?
What can we do to help your journey?
It is. So Pacifying Bolts is her last augment. And it basically states that enemies effectively confused for 10 seconds. It's kind of a cool little trick, actually. Because when they're confused, it's very much so like, well, confusion in any game, MMORPG or otherwise, where the enemy will randomly shoot either a friend or foe. So, depending on how you want to play Nyx, you can get her really anything. And if you really like, her first ability for mind control, then do that. If you really like her ability to pacifying, if you're using her Psychic Bolts a lot, and you modified her for damage, maybe that's what you need to do. Chaos Sphere, however, is what most people run because it's just good for chaos. And then Assimilate for people who just want to run around and play it safe. So last things last, we'll talk about how to pick up Nyx herself. So Nyx blueprints are acquired through only one type of mission. It's a boss, but it is a tricky one to pick up. And that is the Forward, which we don't think we have either one of those going on right now. The Forward invasions for the infested. So this, for example, is a support assassination. You get the Mutila's LB coordinate for it, but you also are fighting Forward. And every time you fight Forward, you have a chance to acquire a part from Nyx. And then, of course, as most normal frames, you acquire Nyx's, special blueprint from the, here. Ta-da! Blueprint, 25,000. But Nyx is definitely a very interesting frame for what she is. It's hard to say really what she's going to become after the rework. There's not been too much information that I really read about it, so we'll have to see what happens then. Until next time, everybody, I will hopefully see you guys in my next video. If I don't, I'm sad. But I will also probably do another video about this frame after the rework in Fortuna, which there's a lot more frames. There's not very a lot. There's like, I think 10 more frames to go through, and then we'll be done with the actual Warframes. And we might be going back through and doing some more advanced nitpicking with abilities and setups and stuff like that. But until next time, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see the rest of you in my next video. Goodbye, everybody.